help us work on all of this AI work is a big step and a big step in a trailblazing direction. And we know that it's another thing added to what you have to do. But one thing that we have learned in this team is we have to intentionally carve out time to spend in this space. Otherwise, everything else fills up the vacuum and we just don't have time. So welcome. We are thrilled that you are here in phase one. What our goal is for today, our plan is we want a conversation. We want this group to always be a conversation. So we're not here delivering training or presentation or whatever. We're just talking through the process. We are a large work team and we'll break off into smaller work groups, but we're all working towards the same mission. And that is collaboration within the space around AI. So what we're going to do today is talk about the communities, how each of them are set up. We have a Teams space designed for each of you that you will work in and do your work in. We ask that you be patient with us throughout this process because teams and external members, right? It's a thing. So we may have a few bumps along the way, but we'll get them ironed out as we go forward. So what we're going to do here today is just go through kind of the expectations, the infrastructure of the groups, what we need for you guys to do, to think about. You're going to get access to some templated documentation that we have for you. And so you'll see in just a moment, we'll take a look at some different files, but you'll see that we've got different areas that we want you to take under consideration. Know that we know you are bringing in your ideas, your interest, your experiences with AI, what you and your campuses are curious about. So everything that we have designed for you is set up in guidelines. So know that it's not carved in stone. And we know that we've got lots of different ideas and agendas and all those things coming together, which is what makes a community of practice so engaging and interesting, because we are coming at from different perspectives. So just to get us going, we're going to run through some slides together, and then we'll just have a conversation and talk this out and through and get us started. That's what the point is here today. And then Erin's going to send you guys, I believe, an invitation to your various spaces in our Teams world. And that is where you'll find your documentation embedded, but we'll take a quick look at it together as a group so that you know what you're looking at when you get over there. As we talk through this information and you have questions, just chime in, please. Again, it's a conversation, so we want to hear from everybody. We want to know what your ideas are. If you think if something's missing that we're not hitting, please let us know. We are here discovering anything and everything that we can discover in this space together. So here we go. We're going to launch out, and I will pop open these slides, Sarah, from my screen, but I would like, just all of us just to chime in on them as we go through, and we'll cover this information together. Does that sound okay?
Let's go for it. We like to come off mute in meetings, so feel free to join us.
Yes. Okay. Can everyone see this correctly, easily? I'm going to leave it at this. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say we can see it. It's not in presentation mode, but
yeah.
And if anybody needs to zoom in at all, if you go down and hover over Jamie's name in the corner, because she's screen sharing, you can actually zoom in and make it bigger for yourself.
Let's see if this helps. Is that better? Okay. Okay, so we are here with the Communities of Practice Kickoff. So what we're going to go through today, just briefly, are the purpose of our communities. You read some of that information in the application that you completed for us, but we can talk about that a little bit deeper. Some guiding principles that we have developed for you for collaborative engagement, our operational structure of what we're going to follow and how we're broken out into communities. Those of you who are in the instructional group with the student learning support, those started out as 3 different groups, and we wound up folding it together into one. So you may have noticed the title of that group changed a little bit. So when we talk about that group in a minute, there's some pieces that you may find consistent across everyone's interest in that group, but there may be some nuances that are a little different because we did fold groups together. We're going to talk about the phased implementation. That's not a big deal. It's just you are phase 1. You are our trailblazers. You are our pioneers. And so we'll have another group that's going to come in a little later on, and we'll talk about what that's going to look like for you guys. We're going to go over member expectations and responsibilities and anticipated outcomes and next steps. If you have any questions along the way, let me know. If you have questions that come along once we get beyond this meeting, by all means, just communicate with us. Okay, so the purpose of our community. So as a group, the AI Learning Collaborative is mainly for members. We consider the collaborative to be system-wide, where we have engagement across our institutions, across the state, across our areas within our institutions. But what we find is that because we are a system and we are so very large, it's very difficult for us to feel like we are supporting, walking along beside, doing everything that we can for our individual schools. So when we thought about the communities of practice, we thought, okay, what are some ways we can engage stakeholders across the system to come together to help us in this work, to make sure that we are truly hearing what the campuses are saying? When are we hearing what each group on the campuses are saying? What are their concerns? What are their needs? What do they want? And so it was very clear and apparent to us very early on that having a central group just within the system office and no other ways of engagement other than our tech talks and what we're doing with training is still going to leave us without the necessary levels of engagement that we see that we need. So communities of practice came up on our radar, and we thought that is exactly what we want to do. Because we are a system and we've got different communities that have different agendas when it comes to implementing AI, we need to have a way where we're collaborating across school lines, but we're also taking care of particular content areas and disciplines. We're taking care of particular job roles and what's happening there. We're thinking about our students and what they need when we graduate. So the communities of practice was really a great answer for that. And so we structured out how we wanted those communities to fall. In this first group, there are 4 communities. 3 of those are faculty-based. Now, that kind of fell that way because we had a lot of faculty come through the door and say, we want to participate right out of the gate. But it's also kind of a natural way you'll see AI implementation to roll out because guess who's on the front line? Faculty, right? And so those are the individuals that are most impacted right now, although we are all impacted. So we have 3 groups that are faculty-based, and we have the one instructional group that supports the faculty group and the learning supports. And so these communities we're going to work together, and our goal is to advance best practices in AI implementation across teaching, learning, and daily work. And that is really what we want to do. We want to focus in and come up with some ways that we can develop out sets of best practices that our stakeholders can take and utilize and put into practice. We want to support campus and system-wide implementation of AI. We are very early in this process, and Tennessee is actually one of the leaders in this space. And so we want to keep that momentum going by developing these communities. So you are part of that leadership innovation.
Hey, Jamie, can I interrupt you? I'm sorry. How do you know that Tennessee is a leader in AI?
We watch it consistently, and right now, Dr. McGobgob, I am developing out some paperwork for our board and comparing across the system what higher ed systems are doing, institutions, all of that. And Tennessee is definitely a leader there. We'll share that information as we go through. Anything that we pull together like that, we'll share with you guys.
Okay,
so you can take it back to your campus. We see a lot of movement with AI, but it's very pocketed, and it's typically within institutions. And so to look at it as a system taking it on, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. We also want to focus on sustaining the work that we are building. How do we make that work over time? And that comes from embedding it into our infrastructure, right? And into our world. And so that's what we're going to be working on. We want to really focus on ethical, equitable, and practical uses of AI, which is what I'm sure you're looking at now. But we really want to take this time to look at it as on a generalist level. So just generally looking at AI implementation and discipline specific levels, because we have you here. You are the subject matter expert in your area, and you're bringing that knowledge with you. We want to make sure that we are aligning our system strategies with our individual campuses. And the communities of practice is a great way to have that communication going forward to make sure that we're hitting that alignment. Okay, there we go. Uh-oh, let me back up. Got a little happy there. So one of the big goals is to build AI literacy across roles. And so one of the things that we are working on now on our team is we are working on AI literacy competencies, skill sets, modules, all those different kinds of things. So the work that you're doing is going to inform those literacy frameworks that we are able to build. And so by understanding what's happening in your classroom or in your job role and on your campus is going to help us come up with a consistent, clear set of guidelines that we can implement as best practices to carry us forward. When you talk about a system level, consistency and even application is really important. We want to make sure that our schools that are in our rural communities are getting the same exposure to AI as schools maybe in our urban communities that are around more companies and larger companies. So we want to make sure that as we look across the system that we're doing these things consistently and equitably. That's a big focus for us. We want to also take this time to really immerse ourselves in what industry is saying. And this team does a lot of research in that space. And we're going to share with you the research that we are collecting. And we're going to share with you those thought leaders that we follow so that you can then plug into what industry is saying. Because what we want to communicate to our faculty, and we try to in our trainings, is that we're here in our jobs to prepare our graduates to go out there and compete for the best jobs and to stay in the best jobs and to upskill for the better jobs. And part of that is having that AI skill set. And so we need to, in that process, make sure that we are keeping up with and understanding what business is and industry are expecting our graduates to walk out of the door with. So that's really, really important. We're going to work together to develop best practices, share best practices, develop and find resources, and share those resources. When you get into your different communities, you're going to see some documents that we have put some templates for you to find resources. We have built and collected resources for our stakeholders, but many of them are pretty general. They're at that generalist level, which is where a lot of academia lives right now. And by generalist, I mean where, for example, we're saying, okay, we can use Chat GPT for X, Y, and Z. So we're keeping it at a very general level. We've not done that deep dive into specific content areas or specific industries and thinking about what are the AI tools that are being utilized in those industries and how does that translate to our students that we're preparing. So we're going to think about that. We're going to hone in on it. We're going to look at developing best practices and these resource libraries and building those up so that we can then share those out into the larger system. Finding valuable resources is important. There is a constant showering of resources out there, and it takes a lot to wade through them. We use that phrase filter and focus a lot because if you look at just the sheer number of AI tools that are out there, and they come along every day, and the resources that are put out there for various reasons, some are good, some are not so good. So going through those resources and really thinking about, is this something that's valuable for our stakeholders to use? Takes some vetting. It takes some time to do that. So that's part of what we are developing here, is a really expert group of people who are developing that keen eye to be able to quickly assess a tool or to quickly assess a resource and say that's something that's really valuable. Also, we would love it if you would be willing to test some things in your classrooms and in your job, and think about, how can I apply this and then run it through a little pilot and come back with the knowledge of this is what I did, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, and this is what I would modify for next time. And that this is really a test bed as we go forward, and we would like for you to think about it that way: a laboratory, test bed, collaboration, information sharing. This work will definitely support system-wide implementation of AI. The system, our senior leaders within the system were very, very excited about these communities of practice. And in fact, it's a big topic in the upcoming board meeting. And so it's being highlighted there. So our board members see how engaged our faculty, our staff are becoming as we move along this timeline of implementing AI. So it really does support each faculty member, each administrative role, each student, each campus, and the entire system as a whole. So all of the work that we do here is so very valuable of moving us forward in this space. We want to encourage collaboration in this group. There's no wrong and right answers, right? We're testing. We're testing. We're in that laboratory environment. We're bringing all ideas. We're not filtering those ideas. We're going to put them out there. We're going to talk about them. We're going to wrestle with them. We're going to see, okay, would this work? Can we modify it? So bring anything and everything that you find and you want to share. That's what makes communities of practice really, really valuable. So this is kind of the process that we're going to follow as we go through. So we're developing relationships. I just want to give a shout out to Roane State. You guys came in big time. So we have several people from Roane State who are participating in our communities. Very good. But we're excited because we have representation from across the state. So some of you may have had the opportunity to collaborate together on work teams prior to this, and maybe not. Maybe you're meeting some folks for the first time. So we are developing those relationships. We're developing those relationships around this particular topic of AI innovation and implementation. But, it can kind of seep out to other technologies as well. So we want to make sure that we're developing those relationships and we're establishing our norms. We've got a supportive environment, and we want to build on this relationship that we are forming today together as a team. We want to learn and develop practice Interesting spelling there. So again, shared resources, shared ideas, no bad ideas, bring them all. If you have tools, we want you to share those. We've got places to capture those. We have been tracking on the Blending or Bridging Minds and Machines website, lots of tools there. But, you know, we kind of feel like we log tools up there and then you wait a couple months and you're like, okay, I feel like we're behind. We don't want to have just this never ending, overwhelming list of tools, but we really want to drill down and get the really good things. So we're going to have on the resources, the tools, reflecting on those, thinking about how they're used, searching out use cases, trying them out in our classrooms. All of that will inform our work. So carrying out projects, some testing, we're going to do some testing, and then ultimately that will all inform this knowledge base that we're building together in frameworks and recommendations. So for the duration, so we have set these communities of practice up for 1 year. So what will happen is all of the communities that you're in will operate for a year. And then what happens at that point is you may choose to roll to another community, or you may say, okay, I've participated enough for right now. I don't want to participate anymore for a while, and maybe I'll wait and then roll into another community. That's totally up to you. We hope that you will totally stay around with us though. But what is important about having a rolling participation is we're constantly changing up the opportunities for people to come into these communities, especially at a system level, and collaborate across our institutions, but also bringing in fresh ideas to those experiences is really important. So we're going to do these on 1 year increments. So this one will go on for a year, and then if you decide you want to jump to an additional community, we would love to have you do that. So you'll see us roll out in spring. I think it's spring. My teammates can correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to open up the application for the next set of communities. So we've got some communities out there. There is another faculty group that's business, I believe, and there's somebody else in that group. It may just be business. We have workforce community, and we've got some others that are going to kick up in phase 2. And so this community will be up and running when that phase 2 begins. And so we'll start them in the same process of onboarding like you guys are doing, and then they will come behind us. What phasing does is allows us to get everyone up and running and kind of smooth out the process. And we want you to give us feedback of what's working and not working in your community. And as we go forward, what lessons learned, like what would have been helpful, maybe of something that we didn't provide that we should have provided, etc. That phasing allows you to do that process of working it out, getting it smooth, because this is something that is brand new that we're trying. So lessons learned is very important. So the membership duration will be for 1 year increments. Down here, it's got periodic openings for allow fresh participation. That's just when we bring in those new communities going forward. Also, once we get those communities all structured, if you feel like there's a community that's missing, maybe we can talk about that even before. You can help us identify that. We think we've got them covered pretty good, but we'll be looking for feedback from you. So once you get into your community, there's going to be some roles that need to be assumed. There needs to be a facilitator within each community. And we've given you a place to document this once you get there. So the facilitator is going to kind of keep everybody wrangled and keep everything moving in the right direction. There needs to be a co-facilitator in case the facilitator needs a backup and any assistance the facilitator may need. We need a note taker or recorder that's going to keep up and with the key points, maybe updating documentation, etc. That's probably going to be more than one person effort. It depends on the amount of volume that's happening within your community. So there's going to be some figuring things out in these roles. We also need a curator role. So that's going to be a person who manages your resources and information in your team space. And we can go into more detail about this. We ask you to consider to rotate those roles just so one person doesn't get in one role and that's all they do the entire time. So we're all adults. You guys are going to figure that out. But we've got some basic roles that we need to have covered. And so once we get over there in our individual groups, you guys can talk it out and figure that out. We ask that we're attempting to do monthly meetings. We know that you're busy. We are not determining when those meetings happen. We ask that you conduct those meetings in your team channel and record them. If you have participants who cannot be there, then the recordings will serve that they can be up to speed in what was covered in that meeting. So again, regular interaction, important that we keep moving. I'm not worried about this group at all because we're all eager about this topic, right? And it moves fast and we know it. So we ask that you have monthly meetings. If you have to have other supplemental meetings and you wanted to, that's fine. This is just what we're asking out of you. Then what we also will do, and we've not determined when that would be, is pull you guys together in a big group from time to time. And we'll do that as the collaborative and kind of touch on what's working, what's not working, what do we need to be doing. And we may pop in individually with your groups just to check on you, make sure everything's okay. We are using Microsoft Teams. Is everybody okay with that? Everybody's okay? Good to go? If you're a Zoom person and you need some assistance with Teams, we are glad to help you with anything we need to do. Once we get over into our channels, if you are used to Zoom, there may be some little nuances. It won't take long for you to catch on. But we're glad to work with you through that. We ask that you keep as much of your communication and documentation within your Teams channel, only because this is what we find is the moment we step out of that and we get into email and we start emailing one another, then that seems to get lost from our team. So try to be cognizant of keeping things in there as much as you can. Use your chat in lieu of an email if you can, and if it's appropriate for what you're trying to do, then that again keeps everything succinct in your Teams channel there for you. Okay, let's see. We want everybody to attend regularly. Again, we're not concerned about this. We all want to be here and working on this. So if you can't be, just let your teammates know that you can't be there, just to make sure that someone clicks record. What Sarah usually does for us in the beginning, if she sets up the meetings for us to meet together, she'll go ahead and click that record on the series so she doesn't have to think about it. And that's really helpful for us. And then that's going to give you some different tools after the meeting is recorded that you can use. We want everybody to contribute ideas. Again, we know this is not going to be an issue because we've all got ideas. We also know that we're all operating at various skill levels. That's fine. There are no experts. We're just bringing what we know, right? And we're here to learn and share. So this is a judgment-free world that we live in here. So we're all just trying to do what we can to work together and learn. So just bring any of your ideas with you. We want to hear it all. Again, we want to encourage all the engagement and discussions. Be supportive of your teammates. We know you're going to do that. But just, feel free to throw things out there, throw spaghetti on the wall. When you're watching an innovation unroll in front of you in your daily life, and it's affecting your professional life, your personal life, there's a lot of spaghetti we throw on the wall. So we kind of have to see what works and what doesn't work. So this is our space to try the various different things. When you get into your spaces, you're going to find some document templates in there. So some of the things that we ask you to do. We have on Bridging Minds and Machines a lot of general resources, and we'll spend some time as we go forward with you guys going through those. We can kind of give you the Cliff Notes version if you have not had time to be over there looking through them. But one of the things we really need for your community to work on are resources that are specific and valuable to your community. Because what that's going to do is to allow us to go deeper into particular content areas, discipline areas. You're the subject matter expert. Sarah, Aaron, Pari, and I could sit over here and we could find a tool and we'd say, oh my gosh, that's a great tool for example, for a chemistry course. But if we're not a chemistry faculty member, it may appear valuable on the surface. But once you give it a go and start doing some things with it, you may say, oh, that's not great. That's where your subject matter expertise really kicks in. And that's true in a job role too. We can find things surface level that really sound good, but in application, are they good? Theory good, application maybe not. So that's one of the things we're really going to look for you to data mine for us and find and test and see what you think and give your recommendation or not to these things. So you'll be building a resource library for your particular community. We're asking that you have a little knowledge base wiki, which is a great word, but it's not been around for a while, I feel like. And that is just a living document where you're documenting your experience of being in this community, but you're also documenting what you're finding, what you're discovering. And it doesn't need to be something that's burdensome to you. Just make notes. Do it however you choose to do it. You may use AI to make those notes as well. I mean, however it makes it more efficient and doable for you. We have a case study archive. So one of the things that we're constantly doing as a team is scanning the landscape for case studies. We want to see case studies where things work. We want to see case studies where things don't work. And maybe where they kind of worked. And so we're going to ask that you do that very same thing for your particular community area. Even if you come across something that's not in your community area and you think, oh, this is really pretty good, it could be adapted for. Absolutely. We want to make sure that we're tracking those things. So case studies are important. We've got a place for you to capture those. So what we're going to do with all of this knowledge that we're building is we are going to make this information available to the stakeholders in the system. So you really are having direct impacts on the classrooms, on the students, on the job roles within every single corner of TBR system. So that's such important work, and we just cannot thank you enough. So what you're doing is going to empower those that are coming behind us and that work with us daily. In the different communities when you get there, we mentioned the tools, we mentioned the case studies. You're going to be crafting out some sets of best practices. You're going to see best practices that will affect things potentially like assignments, assessments, student use, could be even conversations with students. That is an area right now that is screaming for some development work. Some faculty that we have across the system, and this is very common everywhere, are just not quite sure about how to have that conversation with students. What are some best practices you could develop around having conversations with students about ethical use of AI? There's a lot of misconception in the minds of our students. And so that's a good area. So you're going to be developing out best practices. One of the main themes that's going on in the AI world right now in higher ed is shifting assessment practices. And that's one of our main focuses because we are the CBE team as well. And so you're going to have the opportunity to think about that and think about what are some best practices that peers in job roles like mine, faculty teaching in classrooms like mine, what are some best practices they could implement for tweaking their assignments and assessments for AI resiliency? We'll be developing out those frameworks or guidelines, and you'll be able to share those out with various groups. I'll also say, hey, if you are a faculty member or a staff member who likes to present at conferences, here you go. This is the work that will absolutely land you a conference presentation. We also are asking that you develop out a list of working glossary terms. You'll see in your different communities, we've given you a base document with AI terminology, but we also know that once you get into different content areas, that there's different terms that go along with different content areas or different job roles. And so we ask that you just continue to add to that glossary. What ultimately we'd like to do with those is to share those out. So if you're in the STEM group, let's say, or you're in the humanities group, we're building resources that we want to turn around and spin out to the humanities groups all over the TBR system, or the STEM groups all over the TBR system, or for our instructional designers all over the TBR system. So these are the resources, and you're vetting these practices, you're developing these practices, you're looking at these things and saying, this is worthy or this is not. I would share this with my peers or maybe not. And so think about framing it that way as you go forward, and the glossary is a piece of that. Ultimately, we are looking to align with our strategic alignment across the system. Luckily, one of the things that really serves us is we've got the TBR AI policy that blankets the entire system, so we don't have to tackle that beast. And that's a thing when you start thinking about developing policy. So we've got that guiding set of principles that we follow on privacy and those kinds of things. But that's a conversation to have within your communities of how do we carry out privacy practices? What's the best practices there? We want to make sure that we stay true to that AI policy and our system alignment strategies, and that we maximize our work here so that we can help inform and move forward AI implementation across the system because we are so large. Effectiveness of impact. So what this collaboration allows us to do is going to build sustainable resources and practices and relationships. Relationships is really what it's all about. We want to continue collaboration. When your year is drawing to a close, we want you to stay engaged. We don't want to lose you. We've got you now. You are developing some expertise in this area. We want you to stay a part in the forefront of the AI collaborative. Again, we want this to be a knowledge exchange where information and ideas flow freely. So what we are looking at in a nutshell is collective commitment, ethical collaboration, and supporting our AI ecosystem. And I'm going to cut out of this and come out of that and just let you know that is the general overview of what we are looking to do with these groups. We have lots of leeway. We are so interested in seeing and learning from you, and we are very willing and will share what we're learning with you. And I'm going to open it up. Any concerns, questions, thoughts? Does it sound like a plan? Does it make sense?
Yes, I would like to say that I'm not a faculty member, and will there be a group for support groups like librarians and others?
Yes. So you're in that, I'm sure. Who am I talking to?
This is Scott Cohen, librarian.
Scott Cohen. So you're in that instructional group. It's instructional learning students. There, it's like
It's instructional, academic, and learning support. So it's
Yes.
all of those groups together. So yes, there is a non-faculty group, and you are in the right place.
yes, and one thing that's really cool about that group, Scott, is I feel like as it would be great if we had a whole group of librarians, but also the library work connects to the other things that are in that group. So there's a great benefit from that as well. So you're going to be able to bounce ideas off of people and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this in the library space. How does that affect what you're doing? How does that support instruction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, you are in the perfect group for that work.
Thank you.
Jessica, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's any, I don't know, I guess scuttlebutt on what TBR's timeline is for what's going to be the approved AI, because I'm one of the ones from Rome State, and literally I was just in a meeting and I told everybody, I was like, oh, Adobe's offering this type of AI training at the end of the month. I sent it out, and they were, the first thing was, well, we're still waiting to hear from legal as to which AI we're supposed to be using. And that's like I get that every meeting. So like, is there a timeline? I know they're looking.
So here's kind of the way this goes. So we've got really kind of the AI tools that TBR has kind of put a stamp on that they're using right now would be something that's like embedded in a tool that you already have a contract in place with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand like where they're at, but it's just like, and like I understand like at the faculty level, I'm not putting sensitive data into ChatGPT. I'm asking it to design, PowerPoints. It's not a big deal, but like that is like a big pushback that I do see a lot in just about any meeting that does have an admin person. And it's like, well, we're waiting to see what TBR says. Like, well, we may be waiting forever, seeing as how quickly AI is changing.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at, are you asking, is TBR looking to contract with ChatGPT or something of that nature? Is that what you're asking me?
What I have gotten the impression from our admin that's what TBR is out there looking at to see like if it's going to be Copilot, if it's going to be Gemini, if it's going to be Chat. I don't know if that's what's happening, but that's what they're sort of have been relaying to people.
So I will tell you, there's conversations.
Right.
They are very early.
Yeah.
We are gathering data. We're looking to see, and we're watching there's a couple other big systems that have moved into the contractual space. So we are investigating those, and that's just where we are right now.
Yeah.
So there's been no official.
Okay.
And can I jump in to say it's early to commit because, Copilot is doing something with Chat. All of these are mixing together. I think committing right now is not a good thing. I think we need to wait a little bit. And I like a prophesying there will be a bubble of AI. And then out of the bubble, we will see things really, consolidating again. So I think committing is not good. We need to wait and see how the AI ecosystem is moving around. So yes.
Yeah, like we watch, there's some big systems, some big institutions that have entered into contract with OpenAI, but there's also other big systems that have entered into contract with Google, Gemini. And then yet you have someone like, University of Tennessee, Knoxville, who built their own. And we're not going to be building our own, I don't think. So,
well, they have an instance. They're running instances of OpenAI. Okay, so that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and so there's different ways to go about plugging it in. But you're exactly right, Dr. McGob. We are watching companies move, absorb, do all different kinds of things right now. So are these big ones like OpenAI going to go anywhere? I doubt it, but we're just kind of like, we've got to have all of our ducks in a row. We need to make sure when we make that decision that it's the right one for us. And so we're just in that fact-finding stage right now where we're talking to schools who have done things, looking at the tools, talking to the companies that build the things, where do they see it going, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah, that's just been like a big roadblock I've started seeing because I co-chair our ITLC committee, and we've really been trying to just introduce faculty to new AI stuff. And there's been a big like, well, we're still waiting to see what it is, but I'm like, I'm not putting this data in. So that's been like a big distinction we're really having to make with the faculty is like, you're not going to put any student data in here. You're not uploading their names. You're not even going to put their private work in there. We're just using it for ideas and like workload and stuff like that. And that's something that I think that's been the biggest thing we've really had to stress in the workshops we've been giving.
yeah, that's exactly right. And you're doing the exact right thing of where we are right now. And the current state of affairs with this is, just, and even if we had a contract with OpenAI, we would have to know very, very well what data is trained and what's collected. It's to my understanding, when they do educational contracts, they don't train on that data, but until I had a signed legal document.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Don't do
not a
that.
thing,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
We may be 10 years off from like having an actual like contract at this point.
I don't think so. I think it's going to go. This innovation is not like anything we've dealt with. It's not like our learning management systems or anything like that, because the external world didn't care if we ran learning management systems. Who cares? But this is coming from the external world saying businesses implementing AI tools. So we have to be responsive. So I don't think it's going to be 10 years.
No.
I don't know. It's like hitting a moving target. It's getting real interesting.
It is. It is for sure.
Now,
That's a good
Southwest has been a leader, I guess, in AI, and I'm trying to engage the people because they're doing an AAS degree in AI. I don't know whether you knew that or not. So I'm wondering, anybody want to share with us what they're doing? What instances are they running? Anybody want to answer my question today? Anybody Southwest?
There's some Southwest folks on here.
Come on, Southwest.
They may not be here, but they're in the a community.
Okay, I'm just doing an AS degree in AI. That's a big deal.
So we'll also share another one. That is great. That is a big deal. Another pilot that's happening that we're super excited about. And I know some folks are on here from there. Vol State's doing a school-wide AI pilot this semester, this year. Oh,
wow. Okay.
And so they're using the red, yellow, green light framework to roll this out.
Okay.
And so they've got some courses where faculty just aren't quite ready to take that step. Those are red light courses, which is fine. If you're doing a pilot like this, you need to have those groups included. The yellow light courses, there's AI is allowed on some activities and assessments, but not all. It's deemed, you have to check with the instructor. Then we have the green light courses. They are immersing as much as they can with AI tools, and that's school-wide. So ultimately, the information that comes out of that pilot, we're going to publish it.
Okay.
Going forward, this first semester, it's only full-time faculty who are participating, but starting in the spring, adjuncts are invited to participate as well. So that's going to be really one to watch. We're doing some different training with them. We have been working with them to craft out communications with students, because that's one area that we want to make sure this year that we are working with our faculty on, because students, we shared some information yesterday, if you were in Tech Talk with us, that there is a higher ed survey that's done out of the UK every year. They compared 24 to 25 on student Gen AI use. And in 2024, they found like 68% of students were using it. In 2025, it was 92. So, I mean, students are using it. How are they using it? Mostly improperly. Because in that survey, they also conveyed, and we'll share that with you guys, and I've got some summaries I pulled from it. Students are just, they're not getting any instructions, so they're just jumping in and using it. And you know what they're doing. I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we how do we start to frame this for these students so that they understand there's a proper way to use it, and that's when you get the real power out of it, is when you're
Yeah.
using it properly, not when you're just
Mhm.
copy pasting and running something through. um, but the communication piece is huge. Let me not get off track. And so we've been working with them to craft communication for those students, because students, you've got to, let's say you've got a course and you can use it in this course, but then you've got a course tomorrow and the instructor's saying no. So what's the messages that are being conveyed to students in
Mhm.
that regard, so that we don't have the lid blow off all state over here because students are upset? So we've worked together with them to craft really some consistent statements that they've
Mhm.
embedded in their syllabi. They've embedded in D2L as templates, so faculty can just grab them, pull them down to explain. So
Mhm.
particularly for courses that aren't allowing AI or limited use of AI, why?
Mhm.
Why is that happening? So
Okay.
that's something also to consider in your communities to talk about, is that communication piece with students. It seems to be one that kind of stumps faculty lots of times, and it can be daunting. We
Okay.
understand that can be daunting to walk in there and just kick the door open and say, let's talk about the AI tools, because as faculty, we're used to students coming to us to learn about these things. And if I am not feeling super confident in this thing, am I kicking that door open to where I'm going to get asked a lot of questions that I can't answer? So, framing those conversations and being open with students and saying, hey, we're learning this right now, today, all
Okay.
together.
Can I jump in and say,
Absolutely.
go back to TBR AI policy? Um, since AI is a tool, technology, etc., National Institute of Standard and Technology just came up with the AI framework. And I think we ought to take heed, look at what they've done, add it to our framework, and see how we could become compliant with the NIST framework for AI. I think since I teach cybersecurity and other things, NIST cybersecurity has impacted every institution to be compliant with the NIST framework on cybersecurity. I think we ought to pay attention to the conversation of NIST on AI and maybe become compliant. That adds federal money, more other things to our benefit. So I think I wanted to add that to the conversation.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Just want to say that.
Sounds terrific.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I know we're getting close to time. I'd like to open up one of these communities and just show you what's sitting in there. So when you get in there, you'll know what you're looking at. Sarah, Aaron, you want to do this piece? Or do you want me to buzz through it? It's up to you.
Yeah, if you could, only because I'm experiencing bandwidth issues.
Okay.
I'm back in the 90s right now.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to take a quick look at this. So what we've got our communities set up. Let me make this bigger. I don't know if that helped or not. We've got each of these communities set up, and you're going to get an invitation to your particular community. When you come in that community, you're going to see this on the very front. It's just a welcome message. You're going to go up to this files area. You'll also see some tabs up here that have been built in, and we'll talk about those in 1 second. But the files area contains some starting points for you. Each community has a PDF file that is your starter packet. And so what is in this starter packet is just an overview of a set of guidelines to follow as we go through the community. So it's got a little mission statement, a little vision statement, objectives and goals for each community. So they're distinct to each one. A little bit about your process and governance. Now I've got on here, we've got things like response norm when you communicate 2 to 3 business days. That's up to you guys. I mean, these are guidelines. So when you're communicating with others, you're going to determine that when you get into your work group. Meeting notes and recording, we talked about that. Keep everything in Teams if you can. Roles and responsibilities, we talked about those. You'll need to set those up. Down here, it gets into going through what it is. Watch out, my mouse just took off. Of what we're looking to develop. So you'll see that at the bottom of each one of these documents. So each one of these maps out to these document templates that are sitting in here. So for example, I'm going to click on this case study template so you can see what it looks like. They look the same for each group. Maybe it's going to show up and maybe it's not. There we go. Okay, so these are just templates. So you can take this document, copy it, and complete it as you go. So as you create or find case studies, we want you to collect some information about them. We're not looking for deep, detailed information, just something that we can scan. You can scan, your peers can scan, and understand what it is they're looking at. There is a tab at the top that says case studies, and these tabs are simply folders. So this folder, this tab, they go together. So we want to section out those case studies just so they stay together. Organizations, all we're talking about here. You've got this glossary document that you're going to find in each one. And so it's got a base set of AI terms, but are there terms that are relevant to your community that are not on this list that ultimately your peers will find useful? So that's what we're looking for. And it may be some new terminology that we're discovering that's been created since AI. This policy template classroom file. So this, we've got our AI system policy. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not even talking about institutional policy. We're talking about classroom practice policies, or in the instructional group, it could be library policies or instructional design policies, those kinds of things. Guidelines, let's think about it that way. Policy is kind of a strong word, but let's use guideline. So if you think of something you could come up with, so you're thinking about how to adjust an assessment to where AI could be used in conjunction, or no AI on that assessment, what would that be? So this is how you get down to and thinking about policies. Think about syllabus policy. It's the best way to think about it. If I'm thinking about a syllabus policy and I'm thinking about, and I want to move that over to an assessment or an assignment, or if I'm in instructional design and I want to think about what is a guideline that I would use for instructional design, etc. Perfect example, accessibility. Boom, right there. There's an area that we're talking about would be very, very important here. So as you are working through, what are some things that are relevant to your content area or your job role that could be developed that would inform colleagues' work and your future work? Or student work. This is a document that is going to help you track meetings. So what's going on in your meetings? So again, you'll have someone who's in that recorder role. So it's just keeping up with each meeting, what happened, who did what role they were in. And this is the resource library. And so again, this is finding resources out there that you feel are useful. So what we would ask you to track on those is just the name. What does it do? What's the primary function? How can we find it? What's the URL? Does it cost? Is there a cost structure? Is there a use case for faculty, staff, or students? And you want to include that as well. Just a few words. You don't need to be super deep in your description, but that allows us to track it. Ultimately, if you feel that needs to go, what your work does, what we would love to do is to be able to, on Bridging Minds and Machines, We've got our resources list, but how cool would it be if we had areas for humanities and arts, for STEM and tech fields, for health and human services, in our instructional support areas. So that would be great to be able to do that. So this is what you're going to find in each of your groups. Once you get into your community, each one has one there. If you have any questions or something's not working properly, then you just let us know. Yeah, Amanda, it seems like we're all paying for different ones. And that's going to be really kind of one neat thing I think we can do as a group. What does it mean to pay for Gemini? What can you do in Gemini Pay that you can't do in Gemini Free? What can you do in ChatGPT Plus that you can't do in ChatGPT Free?
Mhm.
You know, Claude. What's Claude's strengths over any of the others? That's what it allows us to divide and conquer, right?
Claude does a lots of STEM, I mean, coding, cybersecurity, all kinds of things. They're the deepest, I think, from everything I research. In my opinion, again, mine, is Claude is the best that is out there. And they show you their thinking. They really explore all kinds of things, build your reference. And right now, it's still free. If you want to jump and do Claude, I have ways of doing that.
And
I've got to
this is
leave you. I'm
exactly-
sorry. I've got to jump out.
Yeah, and we're wrapping up, but that's exactly what we want to do here. You know, Dr. McGob said, Claude's the best in my opinion, and this is why. I mean, that's what we want to do and share as a group, you know. And if you're just getting into them and you're just learning, that's fine too. You're bringing a fresh set of eyes and thought process on these things. And so coming at it from all these different directions is going to help us immensely going forward as a group. So we're excited. We're so excited to get together in here and peel back the layers of the onion and see what we can find and learn and develop out some resources and dig through it all and pull our hair out and scream and jump up and down and cheer. We do all these things in a day.
Awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate you all hanging out with us today. We're very excited to start this Communities of Practice journey with you. Erin will be sending out the invites to the teams shortly, so be looking for those. When you get in there, if there's any questions you have about the documents or about the Getting Started guide or or any of those, feel free to reach out. You can post them in our team's chat because I bet if you have a question, somebody else does too. So make sure you're posting those in your chat, and we'll be watching, or in your teams, in the messages in Teams, so that everybody can see those questions and answers. We'll be watching for those, but we are looking forward to following this path with you all. Hope you have an amazing rest of your afternoon and look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thank you.
Yes, Jamie will be sharing research too with you.
Yes.
We share. We're very good at sharing.
Yeah, I have a list of what we promised.
Thank you.